Hi everyone, welcome to this sketchbook tour. This sketchbook was completed between October 2023 and December 2024. It's been finished for a while now, but I've just not had the time to film this. Really good to have you here. Grab yourself a drink of choice and let's get going. First page, I have my contact details here. This I started drawing from life while on a commute on the bus. I gave up on that idea, or at least I just didn't feel drawn to it, didn't come back to it. What I did keep having thoughts about was other circular things I was coming across that I felt drawn to sticking down because of this. This was a low pressure beginning to the sketchbook. Whilst I was doing this, I was actually on a train to Margate for my birthday. My birthday is actually in February, but in February I had that disease that we all had. The trip just kept getting pushed back. I'm so glad we went there. There is actually a whole video about that trip on my channel. I do remember on this trip I only took this one coloured pencil because I didn't want to waste time and feel overwhelmed while I'm supposed to be on holiday. And I was drawing this whilst we were on the train on the way to the Seaside, and I remember people looking over my shoulder to look at what I'm doing as they were getting on and off the train, and I remember that was really annoying me. One of my goals was to get over that. I've been doing a lot more drawing outside, and I've been going to classes where other people can see me drawing, obviously. I'm a lot better at tolerating that. And then my partner said at the end of it, it reminded him of flags. Like, this is a bit like the American flag with the stripes, and then this is a bit like the British flag, I guess. I wasn't really thinking about flags. I was just trying to fill up the page in a mindless doodle but satisfying way with just shapes, basically. And I really enjoy this, actually. This page was months later in 2024. It says 7:22 p.m. during a beautiful sunset after a tumultuous weather day. Now these colours could be sunset colours, the hint of purple and the golden. I like this as a journaling moment. In that same video of me at the seaside in Margate, you might have seen me draw this. This was one of my favourite things in this whole sketchbook. I always have like these great plans of sketching on the go, but I'm just really slow. We're always on quick trips, then we're right back to work. Unless you're going specifically to draw, it's too optimistic to assume I'm also going to have time to draw while I'm out. What I did on this day, we had a nice full day of experiences. I came home and I drew a collage of things from our day, from the photographs I had taken. And I do take photos with reference in mind. In here was a shell grotto. It's been on my bucket list for a long time, but in Margate there is this ancient underground crypt, older than Victorian era. I think it might date back to the 1600s. A group of humans decided to make this crypt underground, these tunnels. They absolutely covered it in tiny shells, made flowers out of the shells, made these plants and vines and other pictures. Victorians thought it was some kind of seance, altar ritual place. They actually would go down there and hold seances, and they actually had a massive photograph of these Victorian seances on one of the walls in the altar room, and it was really good. I just loved it. I loved every moment of it. It was really cheap to go there. It's not very big, but it's just a very curious and interesting thing, and nobody really knows the proper history of it, which makes it really interesting. There's more about it in that video if you want to go and see. I really recommend it if you're in that area of the world. Another thing we did, we went and had an English breakfast at a very standard English cafe. It was in a touristy location, I guess, because it's by the seafront. Very much reminded me of what English breakfast looked like and tasted like in the 90s. So I was just enjoying that. I really remember the pattern on the Biscoff biscuit. This shell I picked up, it was a really pretty shell in the gift shop at the Shell Grotto Museum. I didn't buy that one. I really enjoy this. If you're wondering what this is, it's literally just baking paper. I have to put it in between the pages, otherwise when I lean on the next page to draw, it just ruins this page. This is a double page spread from actually 2 different days, but I decided to link it with this bit here so it can actually look like one image. We were actually at a different cafe, not the same cafe I was talking about here. This is the address of the cafe, I just realised. What a great thing to do. Another day, I think this was the day we might have been leaving, yes, because it's a Sunday. We were walking by the pier and it was actually raining. We'd done a lot of walking. We still have some time before the train to get home. Let's go in this nice little cafe. And it was a really cutely decorated small cafe. We just had tea there. This is my partner having tea. That's his teapot, his little tea mug. He's reading his Kindle. I really liked the chairs and tables behind him. Drew the reflection of the chair here. They had some shelves with different items for purchase in the background and some nice wooden floors. The whole front of it was glass. The door was actually open ajar. I really liked the pretty building behind that you could see, so I tried to get that in. And I think they had some stained glass up above, which I tried to get in as well. I remember being unhappy with it. He looks a bit French, and he's not French, he's English. This is one of his old jumpers that he always wears. It has this detail at the front. The night before, we were at this highly rated Italian restaurant. This place was lovely. I really liked it. I really enjoyed the inside of this restaurant. Not all of these things were in the background, but I basically would look around the restaurant, put things in that I found interesting, because there was a lot of stuff. I remember there were shelves, there was just a lot of stuff going on. They didn't take card for some reason, so that's why I was sitting and drawing, because my partner had to go and find a cash machine somewhere and it was raining in the evening. I was sat waiting, and then I decided to connect both of the drawings by putting the cable from this restaurant bleeding into this cafe drawing, and I like how that works. The pencil wouldn't really get sharp. I have trouble with the pencils and the sharpener I have. So if you have recommendations for a good sharpener, let me know down below. Now that I'm looking at it after some time has passed, I do enjoy it. This one I did on the train home. I did this part before the train started moving, I think, or it had only just started moving. This part, and the train was like shaking so much, and I was really unhappy with it. I still like it. This is what we did on the last day. We went to all the arcades and we played games along the different arcades along the pier, and I actually won some tokens and got some sweets. They had a really stunning clock tower. It reminded me of a clock tower I lived by a few years ago, but this one was so stunning and I just had to draw it. Also, apparently Karl Marx lived in Margate for a while. In England, we have blue plaques to commemorate famous people, and these are from different photos. I just collaged it together. Some doodles that I hated at the time, but I think they work really well together. All the colour play and the shapes, the looseness, very fun. This I did in literally 2 minutes, and I was told like, oh honey, your dinner's going to be ready in 2 minutes, and I for some reason started the bird in those 2 minutes. Like when I hear a time deadline like that, it's like fun for me. So I just started scribbling. I think I just did the scribbles of the pencil. Later I came in, I painted the bark to be this white cream colour, and then I did the outline of the blue. I also painted the orange background, and I think it looks good. It looks interesting, and I like how the blue and the orange contrast. This is one of my favourite things in this sketchbook. I did a class by, I think her name is Suzanne or Susanna Allard on Skillshare, and it was all about making these vibrant, fun, energetic paintings, colourful paintings. I did it in my sketchbook. It's basically abstract. She just says you need to do 3 layers. You could do more if you want, of different materials, everything you can find in the world. I have so many different materials. I think that's why I really loved this, because I literally used everything that I could find in the house, including like this glitter tube that I had for crafts, for like children's crafts. I used acrylic paint, watercolour, gouache, oil pastels, Posca pens, which are acrylic, different types of pastels. I used pencil underneath all of this. I remember each time I did a layer, I was so scared of like painting over it, because you lose whatever's underneath. You don't completely lose it, it peeks through and gives it life. Whatever it was underneath, the painting it used to be no longer exists. And because I'm a perfectionist, this was scary to me, because I was liking the underneath layers. It was also really fun to just like demolish what you've made. Not demolish it, but kind of work on top of it and see where else it can go. And I don't have any pictures of the layers it was before, because I was in a frenzy. I was like, keep going. It was like a hyper focus flow state. Each time I finished a layer, I was using a hairdryer because I'm very impatient, and I just wanted to see what it was going to end up looking like. And because I was also just really enjoying the process, I wanted to get back to the laying down part of the materials. I did really like the iterations of it before, but like I said, because I was in that frenzy of creating, I didn't really take pictures or video. Once I finished it, I was so pleased with it. My partner said it was like one of the best things I've ever made. I really regretted that it was in my sketchbook. Like I wish it was on a canvas. So maybe I should do a different one, because you'll never make the same thing again, but on canvas. I have done a different one on canvas in a harmonious colour palette, but I would like to do one like this. This was more freeing and a lot more me. I just felt like there was a my creativity unlocked with this abstract. Maybe with abstract in general that I don't normally experience when I'm making art. So that's something I should explore more. It's important to check in with ourselves and see how we're feeling when we are making art. Do you actually enjoy what you're doing, and is it for you or is it for someone else? So these are the questions that I'm asking myself. Love it. It's just so nice to feel as well. It's very tactile, and I'm a very tactile person. It's very enjoyable for that reason. This I did because I have a gold pen that I never use. I must have finished using it actually because I don't have it anymore. Also the same, I don't know what it's called, metallic paint tube. It was just to like kind of brain dump, I guess, and kind of let my mind go on the page, doodle. So my partner really likes it. I think it's fine, a bit fairy tale-y. This I made because I bought these Neocolor 2s. They're water soluble crayons. I think I just have that thing of like, oh, a new medium. I'll use it, and then I never get to use it. I was just forcing myself to draw anything, scribble. So my one goal for the year, because I didn't have time, was to kind of get back to being unprecious with my sketchbook, because I'm like, oh, I don't have enough energy to fully render a piece, to concentrate to a huge depth for that long. You'll never do anything, basically. Your life will pass you by, the end, right? I was like, fine, I'm just gonna scribble. So I did the flowers, and then I think I came back and I painted the background. Then I used some kind of pencils in the middle. It meant that I actually got the texture of the crayons, which was the whole point. That was my line of thought. Doodling my flowers. These are just flowers that I always draw. They're my go-tos. I think I found some materials in my stash that I hadn't used in a long time, so I was testing them out. These are the Neocolor 2s again, but I decided to actually use water because they're water soluble, which is why I bought them. Here I am learning like how they work together. They actually look really nice, and I'm scribbling on top with them to see like how they layer, and they layer really well. Again, I found some old materials. I think I was forcing myself to use colours I don't like. All that means is that I just don't like it because I'm using colours that I wouldn't instinctively choose. So all of this is like an art block, by the way. That's why I'm doing tidbits here and there. I really like this. I think this was another Skillshare thing where it was like a low effort, what can I do with my brain switched off. I really enjoy this. It's very playful. It's just satisfying to look at as well. On this page, it really annoys me because I drew that flower on a different day, and then I came back and I didn't want to waste the pages, so I drew this pattern. This was another Skillshare prompt, if you will. It always jars me that that flower is there. These are the Neocolor 2s again. I may or may not have been on an artist date during this spread. I think I might have been, I'm not sure. An artist date is when you take yourself out for a few hours, you do something that replenishes your artist soul, so you can make art in that time, or you can just do some self-care, or you can just do something that you enjoy, nothing to do with art. I was really into that stuff at this time. I'm still into it, but it's so much harder when you're not doing the artist way and being held accountable. I actually really enjoy this. This might have been another Skillshare prompt of drawing candy. These are like sweets that you get in like Christmas candy boxes in the UK. And then this was a lolly, like a lollipop. I definitely used some kind of white here. This isn't just blank space, although I know it does look like it. And I decided to paint over these bits. That's why that looks like different texturally and a bit more abstract, perhaps, than these. When I was in New York, I also bought all of these things from Blick, by the way. I'd never been to Blick before. I also bought this brown pencil that was very, very chalky. Even with spray to fix it, it is still very rubby, offy, and I hate that. These were much more clearer, but it's just been rubbing off. So I'm not actually sure what the purpose of those pencils are. I bought two. I bought a blue one and a brown one, and I hate them both, which is unfortunate because I actually really enjoy the colours of them. I really like this spread. Maybe it's one to revisit in colour. Again, just a simple pattern motif. I really like this. I do a thing where I like always want to fill blank space. For example, my brain is like, okay, this is done. Let's go and paint the background. Okay, that's done. Let's go and add lines to like vine leaf detail to the stalks. Let's outline the stalks. I was just trying to like force myself to do differently, which is why I'm not enjoying every single thing that I'm doing, but I am still learning, forcing lessons upon myself, if that makes sense. And this is quite satisfying to look at. I really enjoy this shade of green. Then I did some low effort vases with flowers from my imagination, all just done in marker pen and other types of pen. Sometimes I just create blobs. Now this is a colour combo that I do enjoy and I gravitate towards. Normally I wouldn't use such a dark blue, but again, I was trying to force myself to use colours that I don't typically use. I really wouldn't use blue and gold metallic together, so I just like this, but at least I tried it. This fox is, again, just like that bird I showed you earlier that I did in 2 minutes. I saw a fox on a walk in London. They're everywhere. Yesterday I was getting the bus to my life drawing class in the evening, and this fox was just out and about, running around me, you know, living his best life. I think I photographed the fox in this exact position, and then I came home. I don't have energy, so I'm just like scribbling it all down in 2 minutes. And that's what happened in the 2 minutes. By giving myself that kind of limit or a few minutes and not really thinking deeply, it means I don't overthink the piece. You get something like this, and then I instinctively coloured the background green. Then I came back and I did some flowers in the matching colours so that the spread would go together. This was done on another artist date. It did push me to find this colour combination. Now I do regret not writing down the names of the pencils. However, I do know that they are Prismacolor pencils, and I had never used this exact yellow with this exact blue, and I found it extremely satisfying. And I think I did this side while I was in the cafe, and then when I got back I did the other two when I had more time. Very simple but very satisfying. This I definitely did on an artist date. So I think the other spread that I said was similar to this, I did on an artist date. I think that was a lie. I think I did that one at home. This one I definitely did on an artist date. I think I was inspired that I found a colour combination that I normally don't find or didn't find before. Inspired by that artist date, I went back kind of looking for that same kick and high. But the sad part was when I was doing the previous artist date, I was sat next to these gorgeous windows on the ground floor and this beautiful light coming in. Any chair and table near a window was gone. Even the ones in the basement near the windows were gone. So I had to sit in a corner. But then that gave me some privacy. I scribbled the design in the Neocolor 2s, did the whole page, coloured it all in. I had one of those paint brushes with the water inside. I just used that, and I used the napkins that came with my lunch to kind of clean the brush off. And I would just sit there and paint this. This is nice, but then it feels like it's missing something. The other one, I feel like the texture really makes it work. It's something I would have to experiment with. I don't know if I would need to then come back in with the crayons to add the texture back, or if I would use a different medium like pencils or something else to add texture and maybe like more definition. Like I could add text. I'm so used to doing that I was trying to do something, experiment, and then leave it and then move on. This sketchbook has a lot of working drawings in, so this is not something I'm used to doing in sketchbooks anymore. For some reason on the internet, everyone has these like perfected finals as every page of every single sketchbook. Typically, academically, what I'm used to at school, for example, as a child, is that you would work in your sketchbook. Like you would have notes, you would have like initial ideas, sketching. Now, the internet likes to call these kind of sketchbooks ugly sketchbooks, and people, probably for perfectionism reasons, keep separate ugly sketchbooks. I have a problem with that because you're basically saying this is not worthy. However, I think all of the work is worthy. People often focus on final artworks by masters, Picasso's final masterpieces, or Vincent van Gogh, or any like master. If you go to the museums or even research online or look at the books about these artists, a lot of them had unfinished work, a lot of them had silly sketches, a lot of them had bad sketches. But we, as a viewer or an observer of masters' work, even if it's a sketch that is bad, we don't perceive it as bad because a master did it, if that makes sense. So they wouldn't really be calling that work an ugly piece of work. They'd probably just think, oh, I'm working out what I'm going to do. Those masters were created at the end of lots of ugly work, and that is the same for every single artist that has ever lived. No one is born being able to draw perfect. This is a working page. There is a lot of working sketches for my wedding in this sketchbook because I was planning my wedding and working full-time while I kept this sketchbook. I did make all of the artwork, all the invites to various events for the weddings, the bridal shower, we had a henna party, party, which was day one of the wedding, the actual wedding day. All of these things I handmade invites and artwork for. I've never had an iPad. I had to basically draw them on paper. If you want a whole other video about that process and a how-to, then let me know down below and I can show you, because obviously it was really cheap. And then once I actually had the artwork, it was just super cheap to print, but it was a lot of work. So here I am gathering ideas. We wanted to use floral theme for the wedding invites. My husband had no idea what he wanted, and neither did I. We were looking at lots and lots of pictures. Okay, do I want it to look realistic? So here's a rose, here's a lily. I was supposed to come back and colour this, and then this is another flower. I've forgotten the name of it. It's an Asian flower. And then I do more 2D style flowers like this. I was just trying to figure out, what did I want? Did I want a big flower on it? Did I want like tiny things? Did I want lots of tiny things? I wasn't sure. So that's me trying to figure out, and I'm using paints, I'm using pencil. So really thinking across this spread. And then it continues on to here. As you can see, like here I'm thinking about just doing a corner detail, flowers coming out of a corner. Here I'm thinking about, maybe we don't have flowers everywhere, maybe it's just like a motif. Is it a Roman motif when it's vines and it goes in a circle like this? Our names in handwriting in the middle. Getting the idea down and then moving on. I did figure it out in the end. I was just focusing on filling the pages of my sketchbook. Fun activities. Again, this blue, this gold, I've said before, I don't really use them together and I don't really enjoy them together, but here they are anyway. I did absolutely love this. This is a Posca marker, a thin one. Again, it wasn't a red that I don't really feel drawn to red, but I thought, let me try it out. I like to mix textures, so like the texture of the pen with the texture of this pencil, this Prismacolor pencil, love that green. And then I did use that gold marker as the center, and here these colors work really well together. Some mindless heart doodles. I was drawing Christmas themed things, even though it was January in 2024. This is where we do the blob idea. So if you've not heard of it before, typically draw blobs if they are stuck for ideas. Inside the blob, you then draw a picture, something the blob reminds you of. My brain just looks at the blob and it's like, this should be this, this should be this, this should be this. Because this blob was a bit more of a dome, I decided to turn it into a mushroom house. Who knows how this stuff comes into my head, but it did. This one, I don't know why I decided to draw a dog. I don't have much practice drawing dogs, but I do love drawing animals. This is some kind of disco ball, my typical flowers, a sad looking pug. The pugs typically do look sad though, don't they? I love this, the word play inside this circle, and how I basically had the green underneath as a circle, and then I came in with the black and I blocked out the letters, the negative space thing. And I really like this happy lady from my imagination with her hands in the air. Love these colours together and love the funky free shapes of these flowers. One of my big goals for this sketchbook was to get back to that feeling as a small child. So you're like 7, 8 years old, 6 years old, you run home from school, you throw down your art stuff on the floor, the cartoons are on TV, you've got your sketchbook and you're like looking up at the floor, lying on your belly, like doodling away. And I remember like every single thing I made, I was so happy. I was in a trance. I loved every moment of it. I would draw the same thing over and over again, but it did not matter because I was so immersed in it and I loved it so much. It was so freeing, and I never really had this expectation of, is it perfect? Didn't have that feeling of, oh, I could have done better at the end of it, as we do as an adult. In light of that thinking, I was like, oh, let me get back to how I drew as a child. So this is kind of in that theme. However, I would have never drawn hills, a lighthouse, this waterfall and a stream. I really love nature and the countryside. It's kind of like taking that style of my child self and turning it into a picture of my adult self, if that makes sense. If a child made this, you'd be so happy with them. You'd be like, oh my god, that's so creative, well done darling. That's kind of like what you need to do with your adult self as well, you know, to channel the young artist that we all have inside of us. That was the overarching goal for this sketchbook. Some satisfying simplified shapes with a satisfying colour palette. Hearts. I was making a colour palette here and I really love all of these colours together. They are looking so good. I was on another artist date here. Certain days of the week, I will pass this bakery. I won't really stop, I'll just carry on, buy something lunch to go and I'll leave. Julia Margaret Cameron's Artist Way is that you take time for yourself, to take things a bit slower and enjoy your life a bit more. On this day, that's what I decided to do. Now, remember what I told you guys before? I'm scared of people looking at my work. I was like secretly drawing this. One of the ladies came up to me that worked there. She saw my drawing and she was so happy about it. She was just like, her face was like, oh my god, oh, like wow, kind of thing. I did take some video of this day. I really did capture them. That is how this lady looked, and she was only there 3 minutes. I really did capture her, and I really liked the lines coming through of the counter behind because she wasn't there before. So I drew her on top when she moved into that position, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this drawing. And there were this elderly couple here, and his hair genuinely was like that, and his expression and the posture, that was all exactly like that. This lady opposite him, she did wear a turtleneck. Her hairstyle was like that. Her glasses were like that. I feel like I really captured its essence, and I really love it now. I think because it's on white paper, you know, it would have been nice to have a wash underneath so that there's a bit more depth to it. But I really do enjoy this, and I think I should scan it and tag the bakery. I reckon they would like that. I really love this colour combination, and the colours were actually in the terrazzo tables that they had. So I just used that as a starting point. One of my favourite pieces in the sketchbook. Amazing colour combinations here. Love these simplified flowers. What the inside of my mind looked like at the time. These are the same Neo Colour 2s that I got from Blick. Some negative drawing flowers. Here again, I'm trying to draw like my child self. This is how I would have drawn as a child, and I really enjoy it. It's very whimsical. It's very giving child me. Love this. Love this. Fruit from Imagination with Neo Colour 2s. Absolutely love it. Completely forgot to tell you about this double page spread because the pages were stuck together. I really loved how minimal I drew the fruit and the shapes and how all the colours work together. A little painting of a cacti plant. I just did that on its own because I received some acrylic paints for my birthday. I haven't used acrylic paint since 2008, you know, since I was at school. I was trying to get used to it because I had only been using gouache and watercolour for the last year or two before I did this. I really liked it, and I decided to colour the background in this highlighter pen pink so that it would like make the cactus pop. Must have had some leftover paint, so I did this palette cleansing thing here, and I always think, oh, I could draw on top of it, or it's an abstract on its own. I got really into these loose flowers. Clearly I'd never done flowers in these funky shapes that you've been seeing in this sketchbook. I must have really been enjoying that at the time. Another thing that Julia Margaret Cameron says in her Artist Way book, you shouldn't try to judge what you are making, you just need to get into the habit of making it. She's trying to cut out the overthinking part of your brain, which is why I try and like draw things quickly and fast so that I do eliminate that. I was trying to channel that when I made this. I don't have to like it, I just have to make it. I think it was in my last sketchbook tour I said that as a teenager and a child I used to have these double page spreads where I'd doodle kind of like a stream of consciousness, and there'd be pictures and background colouring in and patterns and all sorts of experiments. I would also like write lyrics to songs or my name or other words, and I guess this is more graphic-y kind of art. I have noticed an element that I have discovered about myself, the more graphic-y art. By that I mean these kind of things like shapes in a solid colour with a solid background, not necessarily like 3D blended kind of things. I'm kind of leaning into it instead of judging it. You have to explore it and allow it in order for you to recognise that there is something here. Love it. So earlier when I said I bought 2 of these pastel-y, shady pencils from Blick, the other one was in brown, this one is in blue. I find this very satisfying. When I'm using the pencil, it's so satisfying texturally, like the feeling of the pencil on the paper. However, it just bleeds everywhere and gets on everything. I have fixative spray, it doesn't seem to fix anything. So if anyone has any tips, please do let me know. I do enjoy the shapes, the texture of this spread. Are they water drops? Are they commas? Like, what is it? So I feel like you can tell that I'm in love with creating a bit more, because these things have a bit more life to them. I'm kind of getting out of a art block. Here I have painted the background, I think in only one colour, perhaps it might be two, which is Winsor & Newton Orange Gouache. I put down the background, probably didn't really know what I was going to do. I just kind of do stuff. I got my oil pastels out. I think these are Neocolor ones, or some Sonnelier oil pastels as well. So I did this one first, instinctively picked yellow, green, blue. I was going over with it with the yellow for like more texture and the central bit. Enjoyed that. Then I decided to go ahead and do this flower, which is a bit more perfect, I suppose, a shade that I'm used to doing. Did this one a bit more confidently, and you can tell. Do you still like them both together? Really love the colours, really love the textures, just love all the information going into your eyes, like colour, texture, pretty, floral, all stuff that I love. Then I got out my inks. So I have these Winsor & Newton ink pots from 2006, literally. You know, right now I'm teaching GCSE middle school diploma students that were born in 2009. So there you go. I'm a hoarder, specifically of art supplies. I used a paintbrush. I used to do life drawing with inks. I decided to just test them out. Drew these flowers, kind of matching the ones before, just to like see what ink can do. I enjoyed it. I was like, whoa, there's like no control with it, you know. I have a fountain pen that doesn't have ink inside, like a normal fountain pen, not an ink dip pen. I was just so excited to use these inks again that I used that fountain pen to draw these flowers, and it puts you in such a meditative state because you have to like really focus in, and kind of, you know, like the pen runs out of ink, then you're like, how long can I go before it runs out of ink, and then you have to dip it back in, and it just puts you in this low state. I don't know how I would be loose with that kind of material or process, but that's why it created these very detailed, controlled flowers. I wasn't really cleaning the ink off properly, so in this one the blue had dulled quite a bit because I guess the black ink was still stuck inside the fountain pen nib. I was trying to clean it. Here I used a highlighter pen, and I decided to draw things I never draw and I have no interest in, which is motor vehicles, and I do like this spread. Could do more of it. Perhaps it could have a background or not. With this, I just drew this with like a normal ballpoint blue pen for writing. I remember I really liked the flowers blank, no coloured. Really enjoyed them, thought they were really satisfying to look at, but obviously thought they were too plain because that's what my brain goes to. I picked some colours that I normally wouldn't pick. I like to pick opposite colours on the colour wheel. I don't really like to pick analogous colours that are similar in tone to go together. So when I put the colour down, initially I was like, oh no, I've ruined it. Now that I'm looking at it, it's fine. I do like the flowers. I like how many ways I was able to differentiate with like these circles inside. This one has vines coming out. This one has leaves hovering around it. Enjoy it. Love this. Very satisfying. Love the colours. Love how neat it is. Very good. I was on the phone when I did this. My initial idea to do this was to the opposing colours to be diagonal. Because I was on the phone, I ended up accidentally colouring two above the same and two below the same. I really love these colours. They are my Tombow markers. Going off this colour scheme, I wrote It's Friday in Prismacolor pencil and the Neocolor 2. Then I did some more quick ink dip red flowers. Here I just began by doodling. So I just did these in new Muji pens. I'd heard people talking about drawing with these pens, how it's fun to draw with them, so I tried some. I thought it was just going to be like lots of doodling, so I drew this flower next. I started writing this, and then I realised it actually became like a pink and green thing. So really, if this wasn't here and this didn't have black in it, it would be more harmonious. But sometimes you figure these things out on the page, and that's what the page is for. And I do believe that pink and green should always be seen. Neocolor 2 flower with a funky warped checkerboard pattern behind in Prismacolor pencils. I went to St James's Park in London, saw a bunch of pelicans, loved the pelicans, had a great time being in the park. Love St James's Park. Love that these beasts, these dinosaur beasts, are just like roaming and all these tourists are just there like right next to them. I must have had a photo of one and just kind of used my own photo as a reference for this painting. I remember feeling stuck though, like once I've done the layer of the paint, I was like, I don't really know what to do to it next, because I get to a point where I'm like, oh, I like that, but then I don't know what to do to it, so then I just leave it. See, I did those flowers again here. Now I've done them, got it out my system, cleaned my palette here. Then I decided to paint some flowers. I think I was going to write something else, but I ran out of space. So I decided to write Wild and Free, which was also on a mug that my husband gifted me. I just looked up some of my favourite wild flowers. Poppies are so beautiful. Daffodils. I think they're bluebells, or are they snowdrops? Wild flowers are so beautiful to me, especially after a dead winter. And I think they might be some of my favourite flowers ever in the world, in life. Just really obsessed with them at this point and thinking like, I cannot believe that they just grow anywhere and that they're kind of like a weed and they're just so stunning. They come about every year. I thought it was missing something, so I did the little bumblebee at the top. A celebration of colour. Again, I just needed to let my mind rest on the page, which a lot of this sketchbook is. These are markers I'm looking at, also pencils, and I really enjoy all of these colours together on this page. I was sick on the 16th of April. Here I am trying to lose, carefree art, lying in bed ill art, letting go of expectations, which is what I'm doing this whole sketchbook. And I do enjoy this actually. It's very freeing. This is when I bought the Every Colour pencil from Kew Gardens. Loved Kew Gardens. Went on another artist date there by myself and had a great time. I was supposed to sketch, but like I ended up doing like 26,000 steps, just walking the whole park and having an amazing time. So that was me trying that out for the first time. And I wrote Happy Snail Boy. And these things are all from my imagination. And then here I wrote plants because on this day I was doing a lot of plant care. So this is inspired by that day of my life. And then here I use the Everything Colour pencil. I absolutely loved it so much. This is another one of my favourite spreads in this sketchbook. And then I had these pages that I print out for my students. I would print out the readings. Once I was done with it, I would use it as the separators. It's left the ink imprinted onto the page, but I actually really like the effect. Some more Everything Colour pencil exploration. Really love this grid of hearts. I was like fully obsessed with the Everything Colour pencil here, and I was like, wow, I can really press it to get this really smooth, intense colour and this amalgamation of beautiful colours. Absolutely love that. This was from a reference photo that I took whilst on a bus in Islington in London. I always think, oh my god, it looks so great, look how beautiful it is. I started it, but there was just so many small details that I would just go past this page all the time, not wanting to finish it. When I was doing it, it was feeling laborious, and I kind of like finished it without caring. So I did this part by caring, and then I did this part like not caring at all. I feel like you can sort of tell I just wanted to get it done. I think it does give you the vibe of the shop. I don't think I like lots of detail. It's just not something that brings me a lot of joy. I actually did a pottery taster day. I made 2 clay pots. One that was hand built and one that was thrown, my first ever thrown bowl. I had a very mixed experience at this place, and I did actually film a video about it. Whether or not it will see the light of day is up to you. If you want to see that, and if you want to see the beautiful pieces I made, I do love the pieces I made, then comment down below and I will show you the pieces. So this is a direct drawing of the 2 bowls that I made at that taster day. It's the first ever time I've ever tried pottery, and I have to tell you, I fell absolutely in love with it. I'm a very tactile person. I love making 3D art. It was very cool. The only downside is how expensive it is, and that's why I waited till I was 34 years old to try it, because it is so expensive. And even now, I told myself I'd go back, but it's so expensive that I don't even know if I can go back. Hopefully I will one day, and I'll make more pottery. Other things are just mindless doodles with colour exploration. I love this. Colour is life. I used Posca pen for the outline. The pen leaked, so I decided to just cover this whole flower. Inside, I used watercolour. Very strange. It's like almost neon and is sticking out. I've tried it and that's fine. Here, I've done some more ink dip flowers with my ink dip pen and red ink. I was so proud of this page because this is what I did when I was like 13, 14, 15, and I'd be sat in school and bored and I would just be drawing, or I'd come home after school. This is what I've been kind of trying to get back to, and it's so hard because I think every page needs to look finished and finalised and perfected, and so that's what I was exploring this whole sketchbook. This is quite far into the sketchbook when I got to this point, and I was really proud that I was able to do it. This is the closest I've been able able to get. Now, I wish I had these pages, but I unfortunately don't to look back on, but I do think this is very similar to it. I also laughed at the fact that I wrote tired art because, darling, every single piece of thing in this sketchbook is tired art. I did some satisfying vine leaves in some satisfying colour combo. Again, I don't really do the same colour in different shades. I don't find it that satisfying. This does work and it is smooth and nice and pretty. This is how I want to live my life. Live to play, play to live. Colourful acid rain, magical, maybe it's otherworldly rain, like on a different planet. Love that. Here is a drawing of a house that I would do as a child, or at least I'm remembering it from memory. I definitely wouldn't have known to put ivy on the house. I definitely wouldn't have known about thatched roofs or dome roofs. I don't think I would have ever drawn a cat either, because I didn't know how to, not that I know how to now. I did always draw sun, these birds that I learned to draw from Art Attack, clouds, a path and grass and a fence and everything like that. I did all of this in the ink dip pen again. Oh, and there's a bird perch on the roof. That's cute. Cottage countryside living vibes. I couldn't be bothered to get my ink dip pens out because I was lying in bed and it was late. I decided to do a gel pen, I think. No, this is the Muji pen. I decided to do a Muji pen, flowers, as if it was my ink dips. And then here I actually got the inks out and I did some ink dip pens. Although I think this might have been during my 8-hour art challenge video that's on this channel. Yes, there is a whole video on this channel of me making art for 8 hours straight, so go check that out. So I did the ink dip flowers, and then I did these two from a reference book that I have of bugs. I didn't come back to finish the praying mantis. It needed more details, like in the eyes and in its body and stuff. I did finish the grasshopper, and my husband really liked it. And one of my students, Victoria, she really liked it as well. Inanimate objects is something that I loved drawing in my first sketchbook that I started. I think it was in 2020. It's on the channel if you want to go check it out. Then I just didn't come back to it, forgot all about it, and decided to finally get back to it and did this painting of just a cleanser, but I just enjoyed the shape and the text and the colour. I've been meaning to do master studies for years on end, my whole life since I left school. I haven't done them. So I decided to do a quick painting sketch of Matisse's dance, and I really, really enjoyed doing it. And it was quick. I did it in an hour, but it was very rushed to like fit it into the hour, if that makes sense. And then I needed to do something, because this was so intense in the thinking of the brain and the cogs, I had to do something that wasn't. I did this straight afterwards. I finished my 8-hour art day with this. Surprisingly, this took me half an hour, but that's how I was feeling after making 8 hours of art. No more brain cells in the building. I did this collage of these cute animals from a magazine. I'm also obsessed with interiors, so it's like a house of fun with all these animals living in this house, I suppose. This was one of the days nearing the end of school. So I said, you know, all our work was submitted. So I said, okay, let's make like cards as a way to process, because they were like having lots of thoughts of school ending, like it's a chapter that's closing. So I was like, let's just make these cards and we can make goodbye cards or thank you cards for people. So I was making this in the lesson. They were doing that. Came home and I stuck this in. I absolutely loved this. Again, this is what happens when you let your mind rest and you just like do nothing and you don't try and force yourself constantly. Just random colours that I instinctively picked up. There was nothing I looked at to give me this kind of inspiration, and I did my same old flowers, but again they take on various shapes. The shapes evolve. The way I'm layering them really worked here. Had never thought of doing that before. And then I did a border as well. Then I got into the border hype and I did these as well, and I feel like, I don't know if these were new pencils or not, I can't remember. I just wanted to mirror that, I suppose. Then I did this in a cafe. I didn't have any clean water. I had a tiny palette of watercolours and nothing to mix it on, so no palette. I just had a water pen filled with water with the brush at the end. So the brush was getting dirtier and dirtier, and that was the challenge of this piece. I think I did the blue, and then I did the border, and then I went in and tried to paint my cup of coffee that was finished from life. And I think I did a really good job, given that I couldn't actually make the lights light because the brush was so dirty. And I did it quite fast too. I went to London Graphic Centre, bought 2 new pencils, then I was using them, and I love how they work together. They're very, very beautiful in this way. Old pens that I found. Love this. Again, did this same day as I was in the cafe doing this, and I was in a frenzy and probably didn't even notice time passing. No reference, just fully from my brain, was in the flow state, was loving what I was making, which is obviously going to spur you on. Clearly I'm into the borders. Then I have this clip of me, again on another artist date. It was actually a bit sunny, 29th of May, by the canal in Angel. Sat by the water, had nothing to support my back. People were passing me behind me and they were looking at what I was doing. Couldn't get my pencil to be sharp. I actually have a clip of me taking footage of this, and then one of the pieces of papers that I had to like protect one of my drawings had just like flew into the water. I'll insert it here. Love that bit of the canal in Angel. It was a glorious day to sit there. You know, the old factory building here, high rises there, new flats that they're building, and there's a plane passing. These were glass buildings here. And then all the foliage and the weeping willows. There's a little bit that you can go and sit on where the gates for the canal open and close, and people tend to walk along the ridge, the wooden gate, sit there and have a picnic. I've done that before. There were just different types of duck swimming in the water as well. I really wanted to try this. This just came into my brain. It's very hard for me not to go and colour it in. And I was like, nope, force yourself. And I did. And I'm glad that I did. 2 new pencils I got from Sausage and Green. My husband told me to buy them. They were really cheap. They were like pennies. I knew that they wouldn't be very pigmented. Great if you want to buy your children some art supplies. I just found a green Prismacolor pencil to do the background in. Absolutely loved this. You need to kind of keep making art in order to like become unlocked, in order to get out of art block, in order to then do stuff like this. I don't know why I decided to draw an octopus. That thought just came into my mind. Found a reference photo, drew the octopus. It was actually some kind of AI image that I didn't realise. So I had to like fake the endings of these because the AI image just had them connected, and it was like one long thing going back into the body, and I was like, oh no. The rock had a lot more details, but I decided not to add them so that the octopus would stand out the way he does or she does. And I just love all the colours and textures and shapes going on here. One of my favourite pieces in the sketchbook. This is from Kew Gardens. I bought some soap that I absolutely loved. I just thought the paper was so beautiful that the soap came in that I should stick it into my sketchbook. And then I did some vine leaves off of the colours inspired out of this. This is like we've entered some kind of vortex, another dimension maybe, experimenting. Enjoy the experiment. This is drawing from life. I was boiling hot and I think I was getting sunburnt even though I have SPF on. This was June. I went to Battersea Power Station on my artist date, sat outside at a cafe opposite this vantage point of the power station, and noticed that these planes kept flying over every few minutes. So I decided to get the plane in, try to get as much of the detail in as possible. Had a great time. Love this. I was looking for mindfulness, easy ways to relax on the page. So these are like pebbles out of negative space. A satisfying pattern. I think that it was a Skillshare that I did. Here are some flowers that I absolutely hate. Again, just trying to break the preciousness of the paper. I don't like black, but used this black marker, drew the outline of the flowers, left the flowers for weeks, maybe months, came back, coloured them in colours that I normally wouldn't choose, so therefore I'm not going to like it. At least I used the colours that I normally don't choose. I did this and I absolutely loved this. Again, from imagination, just like very loose vases and flowers, very whimsical colours that I naturally gravitate to. This is the Muji pens, the green Muji pen, and I do get the hype. Like, look how great this page is of all the random stuff that came into my mind. I didn't use a reference for anything apart from, I think, this pigeon. I might have looked at the stamp. This mug is mine. It was new to me. I was in love with it. I wanted to capture that love and appreciation for it. Pigeons were outside my window, so I must have felt inspired by that in the morning drinking my coffee to draw the pigeon. The rest just drawings from my mind, basically. colour play and like graphic-y block art that I very much enjoy the textures as well. This is for my henna party invite. I just did the flowers in the red pen. I thought I was going to scan both, but I realised that I could just scan one side and then just flip it in Photoshop, which is what I ended up doing for the invites. I just came back another day and coloured in the background. I was just like doing mindless doodles, and I started on this side and then I ended with this, and I absolutely love this. Like, look at the texture and the creaminess of the Neocolor 2 behind with that mustard colour, and the purple looks so great together. The Muji pen, the way it glides, the gel ink, but then also how like scribbly and drawn it is. I don't know, it's just really good, and I really love how the 3D of the title works with it too. These three colours work really well. Love this. Some kind of graphic-y art just comes out of my mind. This is, it looks like a Posca marker. Background is pencil, and then this is a Tombow marker. I didn't finish this, but I was picking my favourite ever supplies and swatching them. Like, I'm talking top tier, what is my favourite ever supply to use. These pencils that I absolutely love are about that small now, so if you want me to make a video on my favourite supplies, let me know, because soon they will be non-existent. Flowers, I've decided to use a reference picture. I didn't want to paint, which is my main like thing. I'm just too tired to paint, so I used pencils, and I think I used Neocolor 2s that I then washed over with a paintbrush afterwards. Yeah, I just picked a funky interior. I drew a lot of this from imagination because the paintings were too detailed in the photo. This is a colour palette that I was creating for a painting that I've done. I run art therapy sessions in London, so this is from one of the art therapy sessions, and I thought it was too cute to throw away, so I stuck it into my sketchbook. Inspired by my octopus from the earlier page, I decided to do a whole Underwater Friends scene. So I've got a seahorse, starfish. I started with the starfish. The cloudfish is the fish that Nemo is, and that's Dory. And then I just decided to do a seahorse at the very end there. I had this space at the top, so I was like, oh, I'm going to add text. So I just wrote Underwater Friends. I really enjoy it as well. I had food poisoning. I do like to make art when I'm sick. In October of 2024, I went to Paris. I had this cocktail and I took pictures of it because I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And then I decided to draw it in this colour way just to try it out. And this was the name of the place we were at in Paris. This is what I was doing when I was like 14, 15 years old. I feel very proud of it because it's just like a completely mind dump, not thinking at all kind of page. And that's what I've been striving to get back to. Then it was autumn or fall. Really wanted to do a cozy season spread. The idea was to start with the every colour pencil, but then I got bored of doing that because I've used it a lot in this sketchbook. I came back ages after I had started this and drew this that I had in my house. And I decided to draw a bat, like a whimsical one. Sad ghost, the poor ghost. Then I drew this face in, I think it's in pencil or pen, I can't remember. Then I got really excited and wanted to paint it. I ran out of steam because I do it all in one go, so I'll be doing it for hours. I'll be like, okay, I need to finish that, and then I never come back to it. So this is like where, you know, I needed to come back, add so much depth of different colours and add layers on top. This is done in acrylic, and I could see it all in my brain. I leave it too long and I forget everything that I had thought about to complete it. And also I just run out of like energy for it. I'll just make something else, and this can be a moment in time that I can look back to and be like, oh, okay, that's how I did that in this year. And then I was just cleaning my palette and did these cute flowers on top, which I really enjoy. My alcohol markers I never get to use because they bleed through. I love this abstract here on the final page. Then I did some funky flowers, and I've covered this up because I was practicing my new signature after I got married. And that is the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. You are a real one. Let me know what you thought of this sketchbook tour. Have you had similar thoughts? Have you created similar things? Have you had similar struggles? Do you have intentions with your sketchbooks? And one thing I want to mention is that it's very bulky. The experience of it being bulky and hardback and having lots of pages fly out of it made it even more difficult for me to pick it up, which is why I have switched to soft cover, smaller sketchbooks. I am picking them up a lot more often. I've actually finished a whole other sketchbook since I finished this one, so that will be coming at some point. This sketchbook is great if you're going to sit up, going to sit at a table, and you're going to paint every day. Don't use it if you're like me. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.